And welcome back to another episode of Psychic Evolution. I'm Jamie Clark.
And I'm Maggie Clark, and this is a podcast where you discover the psychic potential within to empower yourself and manifest your psychic and mediumship gifts. And today, oh my gosh, we are beyond excited and super pumped to have Joshua Bloom on our podcast today. Now, he is the creator of Quantum Energy Transformation. And this is an internationally acclaimed and trusted authority for quantum energy healing. And he is a best-selling author of The Ultimate Answer is Inside, which, by the way, read the book. It's amazing. If you haven't even stepped a foot into the quantum world, this is a must-have. Go buy it. We'll have a link in the show notes for you guys. And also the foreword was written by Bruce Lipton. And if you know Bruce Lipton, he wrote Biology of Belief, which was transformational in my spiritual journey. When I read, I was like, finally, someone gets it from a scientific community. And Bruce Lipton was on the foreground of epigenetics and also stem cell research and understanding how the quantum field, the environment that cells vibrate in, can shift your reality. So we are going to be exploring all of these things today with Joshua. He has beautiful programs available, including one called Being Quantum. He does a program called Age Clearing. Hi, ladies. And Being Reiki, and also an allergy elimination process called Quantum Allergy Release. So he's all over the quantum field, bringing healing, bringing energy, bringing a high vibe. So welcome, Joshua, to our podcast. It's so awesome to have you today.
Thank you for having me here. I'm more than excited because we are going to rock this.
Yes. And thank you for sharing your gift and insights with us. Because to see people be able to heal themselves, that's what I always say is we're never the healer. We're only the facilitator. Each person is the magic and heals themselves. That's a big thing for me.
So tell us a little bit about Quantum Energy Transformation, because this is trademark. This is your own brand. What is it like? Tell us about the process.
The first thing that is important to know is that it is simple, very easy. Anybody can do it, whether you're an adult or a child, everybody can do it. It's so simple that you might think about, wait a second, how could it be that simple? But it really is. When you understand how to access the quantum field, which I'll be showing you how to do today, and being able to connect with yourself in a different way, kind of like from the inside, rather than from the outside. And when you connect differently and you go into your beingness, well, anything becomes possible.
And I think when we can have enough insight to accept that fact that it is possible, we're the only limitation of what we're experiencing. And I think it's nice when you can give different perspectives to allow people to hear some of that information, but possibly see it a different way. It's a whole new way of understanding the insights of empowerment. It's really cool.
Absolutely. And when we learn how to connect to the quantum field and raise our energy frequency, we actually open up different possibilities, new possibilities that we can even collapse into to live a different life, or to remove a problem that we don't like, or to change something that's just not working for us, or even jump into a person, in a sense, who is already wealthy or already making money. You can shift your energy in the quantum field to create such new possibilities that we shift at the identity level. And I think that's an important difference than just about everything else out there. Most people are working at the strategy level, but that's just too low of a level to actually make a dramatic change. So when we work at a much higher level, such as the identity level, or the spirituality level, or the level of purpose, or unconditional love. These are the levels that allow us to make profound, deep, lasting change that shifts your life into a new possibility, but also changes your life so dramatically. Like for me, I used to have migraine headaches, don't have them anymore. I used to have attention deficit disorder, gone. I used to have dyslexia, gone also. Wow. I used to have pain in my hands, and that's gone. So all sorts of things that have happened to me have changed dramatically. And the biggest thing that I think I changed was anxiety. I was really super duper anxious like 20 some odd years ago. And in that anxiety, I didn't know what to do. I couldn't live this way. I know that most people would have gone on like super powerful medications,
Right.
to resolve this. I thought for myself, that's not the way that I'm choosing to go. And so I, stuck with the anxiety until I was able to move the anxiety through the cellular structure of my body to release it so that it was gone. And when I did that, my life changed and I became a person who no longer requires the anxiety.
And what became the catalyst of consciousness for you? Did you have this connection as a child? When did you start to really kick this in?
Well, I did actually have a lot of connection as a child, but that's a whole other world. When I was a kid, I was living in a house that had lots of entities. I didn't know it then, but I know it now. And as a kid, I would go down into my basement. Oh my God, my basement was really scary. And the basement, it was an ice basement. It had a rug on it, but the rug that my mom put in there was industrial. So it didn't look like what you might have on your main floor. So in the basement, it looked like the basement. And I would go down to the basement. And in order to really see, you had to go down first to the bottom of the steps. And then you could turn on the lights. So you can imagine the running down the steps because you couldn't see all that well. And it was kind of scary to go down there. And then I would play because that was my playroom. My parents made the basement my place to go. And then I would hear things like my name being called.
Wow.
And I thought at first when I heard my name being called, oh, that must be in my head that I'm hearing this. And then I heard it again and I'm like, I'm not saying that. And I'm not hearing it in my head either. And so I run upstairs, and say, I'm not going downstairs. So there were times I couldn't go downstairs to my basement because I was so scared. Also, when I would take the garbage out at night, it was very dark. And being in the dark as an empathic child was very scary many times. And what made it the scariest was that I would be able to obviously see things in the dark, especially when my parents were away and babysitters would take care of me. And the babysitter would come and put me to bed. And then I would wake up in the middle of the night and I would see the babysitter and say, well, something's in my closet. And she would say, oh, no, nothing's in your closet. She would turn on the lights and show me that nothing was there. And I'm like, it really doesn't matter what you do, because as soon as you leave, these things are going to show up again. So that was really scary for me. And so I lived with a night light for many, many years, even into my teens. And that was an important thing for me, because when the lights went down, the activity started. And so that was scary until I turned it off. And from about probably 14, 15 years old through college, I had turned off all of my abilities unknowingly. I didn't know. I just was so scared, I think. I just sort of wished it away.
Right.
And then later on, as I was going through my traumatic anxiety experience, which was really debilitating beyond what words I could even say, to be honest. And that anxiety was so big that by working through it, it opened me up. And as it opened me up, I started to see those things again and feel those things, and my intuition would open up. And then I was introduced to my spirit guides, and they were able to talk to me, which I wasn't able to talk to them before. So I was able to talk to them. They were giving me advice, telling me what to do. Then my spirit guides would connect me to other guides like ascended masters and so forth and so on. And so I have like this entire spiritual team, and that has really changed my life also, because if I don't know what to do, I can just ask my spiritual team and they say, oh, no problem. Here's what you do. So it's interesting how this all played out.
But you bring up an interesting point. Notice what you're saying. You control your abilities. Your abilities do not control you.
True.
And when people can get a little bit more empowered and less frustrated to go, well, it's just happening here and there. It's like, well, the more intent, the more conscious awareness we put into it, the clearer the channel can get. And with that, being a child, like I do, we're fresh from the other side. So it's a little bit easier to go, oh, I'm hearing stuff and feeling it. What was the ability for you to start healing yourself? Because again, you're very compassionate, so I'm sure you've always wanted to help others. But what gave you the okay to go, okay, it's okay to help myself. It's no longer narcissism, but self-realization. I cannot give what I do not have. What became the catalyst for you?
For me, it was helping other people, actually. So I didn't actually believe that I could heal myself. I thought, this is me, this is the way it is. I mean, I'm going to go to classes, which I did. I took classes and learned over 20 different healing modalities just to understand what could help me shift and change. And of course, none of them were the full answer. That was frustrating in itself. Well, actually, I went to a hypnosis center for help. That was one of the last places I went to help for. And I thought maybe they could help me. I know hypnosis, but maybe someone doing it for me would be easier. And so I went to them. And after the first session, I realized this isn't it. They're not able to really help me. But I thought that I might be able to help them. So I told the lady that owned the center, I said, listen, I would like to help you. And she looked like she could use some help. so she was kind of okay with that. And so I started to work at the center. And as I worked at the center, it was really cool. I didn't start out working with clients, but very quickly after I started, she realized I could work with clients. And she was like, oh, great, you can do it. So this is where I got all my training from, really, my practical training from, was working with clients at this hypnosis center. And, there would be days that I would have someone have to pick me up because I couldn't even drive myself home. I was so anxious. At the same time, people would come and I started to get these really, really amazing results that kind of scared me, but was really cool at the same time. So there was a lady that came in, her name was Casey Craig, and she had requested to meet with me because I guess the owner talked me up a bit, right? So she was like, I want to work with you. And so when she came in, I thought she was going to work on weight loss. And well, that was the one thing I studied the least in all of my training at that point. Now it's different. I've had much more training since, but then I didn't know a lot about weight loss. And I was actually concerned about her coming in because she was going to work on weight loss. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with her. So I'm looking at these scripts. And to me, these particular scripts were very inauthentic for me. So I felt kind of stuck and was kind of scared for her to come in. So anyway, she comes in, and to make it worse, she comes in dragging her foot behind. So I'm not understanding what's really happening here because I thought she was working on weight loss, and I see she's dragging her foot behind her. And all I can think of is, what am I getting myself into? Anyway, it was her time to come in, so I invited her to come into my office, and she was about to sit down on the couch. She didn't sit yet. She was putting her coat down, and I said to her, so what do you want to work on? And she said, well, I have this thing called fibromyalgia. Well, I thought she was speaking another language because I had no idea what she just said. What did you say? And she said, fibromyalgia. And I'm like, okay, what is that? So she spent about 5-10 minutes explaining that it was an incurable illness, and she had it for like 16 years. She couldn't sleep. She couldn't live her life. She couldn't get out of bed half the days. It was a rough time for her, really, really rough time for her. And it was a long time. 16 years is a long time of not being able to get out of bed most days. Yeah. And so she said, well, can we work on that? Oh, and I felt such a relief. I said, oh my God, I don't have to work on weight loss. She wants to work on something that's incurable. Well, she can't expect much.
Right. Because they don't even know what causes fibromyalgia. It's just a little label they just
Apparently
plant.
it is curable.
Very, very true. All of my guard just went, woo. Yeah. And I felt so good to work with her. I said, I think I can help you with that. So I asked her this question. I said, tell me, when did you notice that you felt something was going on in your body? Not what a doctor told you, but when you noticed it. And she stopped for just a second. And she said, nobody has ever asked me that question. And she was standing, so she sat down and she started to cry. And at first I'm like, oh crap, she's starting to cry.
Thought you were doing something wrong. You're doing something right, man. Yes.
Exactly. But then I realized it's okay. It's okay. So I sat in front of her and I held her hands and I took her through the quantum energy transformation process. We got her into growth mode, which is the mode in which you need to be, according to Dr. Bruce Lipton, in order to be able to heal anything. So we got her into growth. She's crying, but she's moving energy now because I'm inviting her to move the energy. And as she's moving the energy, in about like 4 minutes, she looks at me and she says, "It left my body."
Nice.
Absolutely.
And I said, "What left your body?" I mean, it's kind of crazy. She just told me it was an incurable illness and she's saying something left her body. So I wanted to clarify. So I said, "What left your body?" And she said, "Well, the fibromyalgia. I felt it leave my body." And I said, "Oh, that's great." And inside of me, I'm saying, "What?"
What just happened?
You didn't have to know what happened. You just did it, man.
I know, right? And then I was thinking, well, who's the crazy one? Because I'm sitting here believing what she's telling me. Yeah. And I'm thinking, well, one of us is crazy, and I'm really not sure which one. So as I was processing this, because I was like, whoa, I was trying to process what just happened. As she got up, we were done talking, she got up and she wasn't dragging her foot behind. I thought, oh, that's interesting. So it wasn't quite perfect, but it certainly wasn't what she walked in as.
Right.
And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And then I'm like calling friends. I just had a session with this lady and she said she no longer experiences this fibromyalgia thing. I don't even know what fibromyalgia is, but it's gone. Like, what is this? What is she saying? So anyway, they were telling me, well, Joshua, like anything is possible, right? I'm like, I know he say that. I know he talk about that, but really? It was kind of crazy. And so then I realized in that moment of disbelief that it really did happen. Because when I talked to her the next day, she said, "Joshua, I have not been so grounded in like years. Nice. And I feel like I'm myself again. I feel like I'm healed." And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And so then I don't remember how long it was. Maybe it was a few months. And she came in with a testimonial in hand.
Cool. And
she looked at me and she says, "I don't do this. I don't give testimonials. I'm going to give this to you." And I'm feeling like she's yelling at me. She says, "I'm going to give this to you because if I could just help one person, it'd be worth me giving you the testimonial." And she said, "This has changed my life beyond words, but these are the words I would come up with if I had some." So she gave me the testimonial and I was so excited because, at the time I was a newbie at this stuff. And I didn't know what I know now, but wow, wasn't that an experience for me and for her? But then we think, wow, I really helped her so much. But the truth of the matter is no, she helped me. She changed my life beyond words. Yeah. And when she shifted that for herself, it gave me permission to think about that for myself. If she can take this incurable illness and release it, then I too can release my anxiety.
And then how long did it take for you to go from that point to the complete release of your anxiety?
A really long time.
Okay.
Patience.
Because I had my foot in the door. I believed now that I could heal, because before that, I didn't think I'd heal at all anyway. So I started to believe that I could heal, and other customers were coming in. Other people were coming in. People had migraine headaches. People had anxiety like me, and they were walking out without theirs. And I was going home with mine, and it was frustrating for a while. And then I consistently worked at it until I got really, really good at understanding that I also have to be my client. I can't work with myself from the perspective that you would work with yourself from, because you can't see the things that you can see in other people.
Yeah.
So I had to reverse that to be able to see the things that I was seeing in other people in me. And that's when I was able to change it.
How to be the observer, right?
I had to be the observer, exactly. Yep. But it wasn't even that did it. I mean, at that point, I got much better, and I was not in debilitating anxiety anymore. But there were certain things that were problems. It was after I created these pendants that actually changed my life even more. So somewhat recently, about 2.5 years ago, I started to have the same business of the anxiety that was happening 20 years ago happen again. And I'm like, man, I can't go through this again. It was horrible the first time,
Right.
but now it upped the ante. So now it was worse than it was before, and I thought it was worse then, but it really it showed me, no, Joshua, there's more worse.
You're
that you can
talented.
have. Yes, you're so talented. Exactly right. You can make it even worse. So I was having these past life remembrances that were freaking me out, but they were happening in alignment with things that were happening in my life. So I was associating that what was happening was causing me that anxiety, but really it was something that happened in a past life. So it was really over the top crazy. And then I was guided by my guides, and they said to me, Joshua, you need to make this pendant. And so I had went to a flea market and I saw this lady in her booth, and I asked her, did she have something that could help me with entities? Because I was really having a problem with entities, and that was what the problem was. I knew what the problem was, but I've tried several fixes and several crystals and all sorts of every kooky thing you can think of. I did it, and nothing really worked to get rid of the entities. And so I'm looking at this lady who was in this booth, and I asked her if she'd be able to help me, and she said, yes, I think you need to have selenite. And I said, do you know how much selenite I have at home? I mean, I could sink a ship with the amount of selenite that I have at home. I mean, that has never really helped with the entities. It's helped with other things. I mean, it's great for healing and raising frequencies. A lot of great things it's great for. But really, selenite? So I said, okay, I'm being open. Okay, good. Yeah. So she said, but with that, you also need black tourmaline. And I said, oh, okay. So she sold me a pendant that was black tourmaline and selenite together. And so I was like, oh, that's awesome. So I put it on and I started to feel different. And the biggest thing was I went to the supermarket, and when I came out of the supermarket, nothing attached to me. And I thought, wait a second, something is starting to work here. So I'm talking to my spirit guides and I said, look at this. This worked. And they're like, I know, that's why we sent you there. And I said, well, great. So they said, but it's not done. I'm like, oh, okay, because I wanted to share it. If something works, I'm like, hey, let me tell you about this. So they said, no, don't share anything yet. I said, okay. So they said, now you need a red stone that helps with fear. And I'm trying to think about the stones that help with fear. And I'm like thinking, I don't know very many of them that are red. I know some that are black. I know some that are green, but red, I don't know about. So just about a month prior, I had bought this book. And I said, wait a second, I have this book that has stones in it. So I open it up to the fear page, and there's only one red stone on it called red spinel.
Oh, wow.
And I said, what the hell is that?
Not a commonly known stone.
I know. I've never heard. I mean, I know about crystals, and I'm like, red spinel? I don't know. I never heard of it. Anyway, I said, okay. So I go online to look for red spinel, and I see they're beautiful. They're absolutely gorgeous. They look like rubies. And so I look at the price, and it's like $100 a carat. You know how big a carat is? It's not very big at all. It's like dust. Okay. And so I'm like, I could maybe get one, maybe two. That's a very expensive. So anyway, in my research, I was able to find some tumbled or raw kind of semi-tumbled red spinel. It wasn't as expensive, and I bought it. And so I took it and I adhered it to the pendant that I had. And when I put it onto the pendant, I remember that morning, I started to feel like the fear was getting eaten by something. And I was feeling like this was like a healing process in itself. And all I did was put it onto the pendant and wear it. That's all I did. And then I started to taste it. I was tasting the fear getting eaten in the red spinel, and I'm like, oh, it tastes kind of good, actually. It was really awesome. Yeah. And so for that whole day, I was like buzzing in a great way. Beautiful. I was like, that was so cool. And so then they said, well, you need another stone, because every time something works, I'm like, I want to share it. And they're like, no, no sharing yet. Right. So I said, okay. So they said I needed labradorite, which is this one right here. So I said, okay, I know what labradorite is. At least I know what it is. So I went and I got labradorite. And I said to my guides, why do we need labradorite? Selenite in itself is a transformer. Well, so is labradorite. So what's the purpose of that? And so they gave me an answer, actually. They said that the pendant is going to help people to transform quantumly, automatically, the energies that get triggered within them. So when they get triggered, they don't have to actually do a quantum experience. The quantum experience will happen for them in that moment. And I'm like, that's amazing, because although I'm really, really a master at helping other people transform things, I am my worst client. I am my most difficult client. When there's, releasing to be done, for me to help somebody else, like just a few minutes. For me to help myself, like 3 hours. So it's sometimes 8 hours.
But look at the dedication. You were willing to put that time in.
I did put the time in. But then my spirit guide said, no, you don't have to deal with that anymore. By wearing the pendant, it's going to do that for you. And you don't have to hold on to this stuff you're holding on to. I'm like, I'm not holding on to stuff. They're like, Joshua, you're holding on to stuff. So, so I like to fight with my spirit guide just a little bit, just to keep them awake.
Keep them fighting. Yeah, exactly.
They enjoy it. And I enjoy it too, because it's kind of fun. So I said, okay, so we put the labradorite on, and I started to notice that seemed to work out really, really well. And so then we needed to get the blue chalcedony, which is the bottom one. It's blue. Sometimes it looks white, but it's blue. And so I put that on there. And this particular crystal is great for calming the nervous system. And I'm like, I could use that. Let's calm the nervous system, please. And so I put that one on too. And then I started to wear the pendant for a while. And I started to notice that when I got triggered, it would release it for me. I noticed that I was feeling much more grounded all the time. I would tell my students, put your awareness at the base of your spine, which really works amazing for grounding. And I even do it still because it works. However, if you're like me or any normal person, you get triggered again. And then you pop into your head or even out of your body. Then you got to do it again. Okay, God, I got to put my attention at the base of my spine again. And then you have to just keep doing it all day long. So when the pendant came along, we didn't have to do that anymore. You just put the pendant on and it keeps you in your body. And it keeps you connected to the quantum field because it's a quantum pendant. So that has really changed my life, because I went from struggling to easy success in overnight, really, just by putting on the pendant. And so then I shared this with my students. And I said, okay, I've got this pendant. I want to see how it works for you. And so everybody got the pendant in my class, and these same things that were happening for me started happening for them. They said, Joshua, I don't know why, but I feel so grounded. And I don't know why this stuff just releases. And in our classes, we were releasing, the quantum work I do is very, very fast. So, it took about 7 minutes to release. Now we're releasing in like 2 minutes.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's like we're getting a whole lot more done in our classes just by wearing the pendants. So now, obviously, in my classes, it's a requirement that people have the pendant, because it's obviously too slow, even though that's fast in most people's terms. 7 minutes isn't a long time. Actually, in quantum, when someone struggles and they deal with something for 20 minutes, that's like forever.
Absolutely. Like, why didn't it happen like this?
Yep.
Snap of the fingers. Should be done.
Exactly. So we use the tools that we have. And to be honest with you, I had to get over using an external tool, because I was taught by teachers, no, don't use external tools. You got to use only internal tools, because what if you don't have your pendant, or what if, all these what ifs. And my spirit guides were like, Joshua, we're now challenging you. At this time, we need tools that are going to keep entities away, which the pendant does that, to ground you, to keep you strong, to raise your frequency, to give you a tool to work with so that you can get to a higher level of energy much easier, much faster, with very little, if no effort. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. And they're like, but you need the tools. Now, a dentist uses tools. Do you think the dentist is just going to stick their fingers in your mouth, or they're going to use a tool? Like, okay, they're going to use a tool. Do you think the gardener is going to come and use their hands to get out your weeds? Or are they going to use a tool? They're going to use a tool. I'm like, okay, I get it. People use tools. Tools are okay. So when I realized that tools can be beneficial and really take us to the next level, which it already has for me and my students, then I realized, but wait a second, this is a quantum pendant. And what does that really mean? Well, that means whether I wear it or not, I'm entangled with it, and I've entrained with it, and it knows me. So even if I'm not wearing it, because that's happened. I've gone to the store and said, "Oh shoot, I forgot my pendant." And what I realized when I was there is saying, "Wait a second, there you go, there it is." It's as if it were around my neck, even if it wasn't.
Absolutely,
Yes, exactly.
I learned that from one of my students. He had left for the day, and he wanted to take his pendant with him, but he had forgotten it. And he remembered what I had said. I said, you could just connect with your pendant and that's all you need to do. But he was really mad because he wanted that protection because he was going into an area of the city that was kind of negatively energetic. And so he then said, wait a second, I'm just going to do what Joshua said. And he just connected to the pendant. And that was it, just one time. And all day he was kept safe by the pendant, and it was grounding him and helping him keep the negativity away and all throughout the day, and he wasn't even wearing the pendant. So when we think about the quantum understanding of entanglement, it's powerful. When I send the pendants out, it's so funny. People write to me and say, Joshua, I can feel it coming.
Nice.
I'm like, I know, right? And they don't even need to look at the tracking. They're like, no, Joshua, I can feel it coming. And then they're like, oh, I feel like it landed. And they're even using the pendants before they actually receive them, because I entangle them with them before I send it, right? So once it's entangled with them, they're actually using the pendants before they even get them. And it's amazing.
And that's such a beautiful message of just the quantum field, because the environment you put yourself in, you are now entangled with that environment. Unless you do tips and tricks or wear beautiful pendants to help filter some of that environment out, you are affected by the environment you're going to be placed in. Just like, Bruce Lipton, that was his research with stem cells. If you put it in a certain environment, it will adapt and become a part of that environment or respond to that environment. And so that's part of the quantum entanglement that we find we're working with in all the healing that we're working with.
Absolutely. And also Lipton said, he talked about monks. And when he talked about monks, he says, the crystals that the monks were chanting around were holding the energy of the chanting from the many, many times that they were chanting. And so they keep lifting the energy, and the crystals keep holding the higher and higher energy. So when you go into that space, even if you're not chanting or doing anything, you can sense that energy, that upliftment. It's amazing. And he says it's because the crystals are holding the energy. And I'm like, that's what this is doing. These crystals are holding the energy for that particular person, and it's holding all the high frequencies, but helping them release the low frequencies. So now we can ascend into 5D.
Absolutely. Nice. Yes. And then bring our whole holographic quantum self with us. So we're not stuck wherever we feel stuck in our lives.
And I think being able to understand a lot of those dynamics that most people don't perceive. And I share the fact that for me, there are many times where I'm just sitting there and I become one with everything. There is no separation with anything. Yes. And when I'm in that mode, that connection, I don't have all of the regrets that humans have. And I've got to make life choices and learn to live with it this way or that way. And after many years, I asked my master guide, Chi, I'm like, Chi, how is it that when I unify with a oneness, I don't have all of these regrets that most humans have to make the choices and live with? And he's like, well, Jamie, on a quantum level, all experiences are happening now. All potential outcomes are happening now. Your soul print of consciousness is connected to each and every one of those alternate realities. And just because you're not aware of it does not mean it's not being registered into your Solodex, or as we call it, the Akashic Records, as an eternal soul print. And I thought, God, that's amazing, because each time I didn't understand it, but I didn't have that I shoulda, coulda, woulda. It's I am. And every time I unified, those are the two words as like a mantra that I receive. I am, not I was, not I will be, I am. And it's that unification of consciousness that I think really allows us to bring our empowerment from the inside out. Whereas, like you were pointing out, Joshua, that most of us are seeing from the outside in, and a lot of us trying to get validations from others. It's like the more you validate yourself, to me, I always say, hi, I'm Jamie. I'm no longer a hypocrite. I'm always of service to others, and I keep myself included because people don't know how to help the one who helps everyone else. They'll offer, if there's anything I could do, I am here for you. And my thing is fantastic, and thank you. And I got good at being good for me, no longer narcissism, but the self-realization, for I could not give what I did not have. And a lot of us try to give that, but we get so frustrated that we perceive we don't have it, and then we just go around in circles. I'm going back to what you were just sharing with your guides is, notice they weren't making you go, you have to listen. It's like, oh, doink, you're paying attention now. Great, let's have a conversation. So it's beautiful that our guides have the patience with us. Have you ever asked your guides who they might have as guides? The unification of oneness.
Well, yeah, my guides are very interesting because I call them the travelers.
Cool.
And that's because it's funny because they like to get around.
I'm like, yeah, and
Because they travel along with me. That's basically why we call them the travelers. It's kind of funny. So the travelers are a group of many guides. And how they work is almost like a pyramid. So, for example, if I say, could the guide that's really, really good at making money step forward right now? And then that guide will step forward, but it would be like that one's at the top, and underneath that one is the rest of them supporting the one guide who is the expert in that area.
Yeah, a big base.
So the way that they work is kind of cool. So it's the power of many, of hundreds of guides are there. So whatever issue or anything that I need, it's there for me. And then of course in my advanced classes, I teach students how to access the travelers and to work with them.
Beautiful.
Through the pendants. It's amazing. One of the things they've shared with me recently, which I thought was very interesting, because everybody talks about being in the now. You've heard that, right? The being in the now thing?
Oh, yeah.
Well, they said, Joshua, no, we don't want to be in the now. And I'm like, no, everybody is saying you have to be in the now because that's where everything happens, only in the now. And they said, Joshua, but in quantum, you need to be not in the now. You need to be in the possibilities and then collapse into the now when you have the energy that you need, not live in the now. Sometimes the now sucks.
Yeah.
Sometimes the now is not working for you. And whatever energy you're in now is the energy that's going to bring you to. If that's not where you want to go, you can't be in the now. You need to be in the possibilities. So that was such an empowering understanding, because everybody is saying, well, you have to be in the now. And what I realize is for empaths, intuitives, energy workers, psychics, we need to be in the possibilities and collapse into the many nows that will be available to us once we have what we choose to have.
Yeah, and the choice is there. I always say as a psychic medium, and everyone's a psychic medium, and everyone has the ability, but I'm just a quantum road sign. If you take this direction, here's most likely the outcome. If you do this direction, here's most likely. All of these realities as we perceive it are happening now. I've just gotten used to being able to tap into a soul print, unique like a SP address on the internet web. We have, well, it's a soul print address. It's unique. So it's that type that there is no guesswork. And whether it's mediumship or the psychic aspect with the mediumship, their loved ones know who they are. And not only that, it's the interconnectedness of all of us, because it sounds like you were using your abilities from a young age. As you grew in years of wisdom, did you use your psychic abilities to help you understand where other people were at more effectively so that we could communicate and talk with them, not just to them?
You mean to other people?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Absolutely. Once I really got connection with my guides, I started to listen a lot more. And that was an interesting thing, because like I'm teaching my class and then the guides are like whispering in my ear, so to speak, and they're telling me what I need to be doing for that person or to help them. And as they're telling me things, I'm like having a conversation in my head with them. And I'm also teaching the class at the same time. Now, in a quantum field, you can multitask. But you can't do that in real life, just in the quantum field.
Isn't that awesome? And I think that's why our guides feel elusive to us, because when we're not trained to feel into the quantum field, they feel separate from us and not as close to us. Same thing with our loved ones on the other side. So do you want to take us through the exercise of getting in our quantum field?
Absolutely. So getting into the quantum field is very easy. And I'm going to shake it up a little bit for you today so that you can experience it at a very high level, but a very exciting experience. So in this experience, you can either be standing or sitting. For many of you, standing will be easier. For others, sitting will be easier. If you're standing, I'm going to be saying, put your attention under your feet. And I like to step on my attention. So if you were to bring all your attention down the body, and then you'd go, okay, I'm going to step on my attention. That's what you would do. You would step on your attention. So my attention is here, not in my head, right? It's a good thing to be out of your mind in this case.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Out of your mind and into your soul. Heck yeah.
exactly. So we want to bring the energy downwards. Now, a lot of people bring the energy upwards, and that's not a good thing and many times not a safe thing to do. So everything I do is easy. Everything I do is safe. We're going to go down to go up. And to do that, we're going to put our awareness under our feet. If you happen to be sitting down instead of standing, then put your awareness at your tailbone, which is the base of your spine. By putting your attention there, it'll do the same thing, but it's easier when you're sitting to put your attention at the base of your spine, and it's easier when you're standing to put your attention under your feet, and now you get it. Okay, so I'm going to teach you a couple breaths so we can breathe in different ways so that you can experience this amazing transformation. You might also want to make sure if you're standing that you have something to hold on to in front of you, just in case you get a little dizzy, because believe me, you're going to get dizzy in this experience. Dizzy is okay. It's not a lot dizzy, and it's only dizzy for about 30 seconds. But dizzy is a sign of change. So when you are feeling that little bit of dizziness, that's when everything is changing. If it gets too dizzy for you, stamp your feet, and in 10 seconds, the dizziness will go away. Okay, so the breath we're going to do is breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth with noise. If you hear the waterfall, you get it. That's the right way. So you're going to breathe in and out. So that's how we're going to start, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. The reason we do that is because it works with the meridian system. That particular breath, it balances our governing and central meridians. So those are the meridians that actually help with healing, and we need to balance them. That's why we're breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth to do that. Then we're going to change our breath to more of a fire breath. I call it a candle breath. You just imagine that you have a cake in front of you with a bunch of candles on it, and you're going to blow all of them out because it's your birthday. And you're just going to go just like that.
I've gotten a lot older. I need a bigger breath.
So we're going to do that several times. I think we'll do it about, let's do it about 18 times. We're going to do 18 of those candle breaths. So it would be rapid fire. Just like that. Cool? So that's going to shake things up a little bit. I'm also going to guide you through a process that I call being quantum. And in being quantum, we're going to open up a lot of space. So let's begin and follow me. I'll take you to the quantum field, and it's going to be amazing. Notice how you're feeling right now. Just take a check-in. How do you feel? Do you feel kind of like, oh God, I'm tired? Or do you feel like you're good to go? Because you're going to feel differently after this is over. So here we go. It's only going to take about 2 minutes. But in 2 minutes, we're going to actually literally move the bones in your spine to straighten them. We're going to help you have extreme confidence. And we're going to help you feel like you have more energy than you ever imagined having. So let's do it. So if you're standing, this would be the time to do that. Stand up, or if you're going to sit down, you can do it that way. And I want you to put your attention either under your feet or at the base of your spine. And if you're standing, just remember to step on your attention. Always works. And start to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. And you can close your eyes and just enjoy the breath. and just open up your auric field. You're just going to push your hands outward to push your aura out. If you could just push the aura out, just push it out all the way. You can do it in front of you and in back of you, to each of the sides, and just open your aura as if there was this big balloon opening all around you. Yeah, and feel that space opening up. In quantum, we need space to move energy. So be in that quantum space. Yeah, you start to feel the connection to the quantum field when you do this, right? It's awesome. So just open up that auric field. Good. Keep that aura open. Reach up and grab your higher self. That's right. Grab your higher self literally. Pull your higher self into the top of your head and let your higher self slide into your body. Right back in, going behind your eyes. Good. Passing your throat, your heart. Pull your higher self in, going past your upper stomach and your lower stomach. And let your higher self slide all the way into your body so that your feet of your higher self are at the feet of your feet. And it helps to breathe. The more you breathe and keep your attention low in the body, the more it will slide in. There you go. And you can even hear my voice changing as my higher self comes even deeper into my body. And then opening up your auric field even more, making sure that it didn't fall in at all. It's just going out again. And let's breathe. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And use your hands like this, bringing when you breathe in, hands up, breathe out, hands down. Faster. Now we're going to do the candle breaths. Clap above your head. Bring your hands to your third eye. Hands to your heart. Hands to your second chakra. Breathe, keep breathing, and then just stay open and just allow yourself to feel what it feels like. Okay, energy is moving. Good, just feel what it feels like. Now, if you're standing, just walk around a little bit and notice it might feel like you're standing on a stage, as if you've just gotten taller. If you're sitting, you might feel like, wow, I'm sitting up tall, really, really tall. Do you feel like you have more confidence, more energy? Do you feel like you can rock it today and move forward in a quite different way than you were able to before? When we think about neurolinguistic programming, we think about the understanding that we have anchors, that we can fall into the anchors. But the problem with the thought of neurolinguistic programming is that we think that we have to find those anchors. How do we get into that state? How do we get into that feeling? This is how we do it with quantum. Being in the quantum field allows us to connect. Feel the field. Now you can connect with the field now from this energy. You might feel fluffy energy around you if you move your hands. You might notice that fluffy energy. Yes. You'll notice that your aura is now way open and out. And now, without even trying, you already feel confident. You already feel amazing. And it feels so good to be here. This is where we want to live. This is where we want to be, in this beautiful, amazing energy. And it wasn't hard to get here. All we did was breathe a little bit differently, do some candle breaths, open our auric field, and keep our attention low in the body to connect with all that is.
Absolutely. All that is, was, and will be in that quantum
Beautiful.
field of existence.
Exactly.
Fantastic. That was awesome. I love the I love the embodiment of that, because so much of the psychic work that we sometimes encounter, people want to open the third eye, they want to open the crown, they want to get up in their head. And I'm like, get into your body, like bring the energy back down. There is so much sentience in the rest of your being. And I think sometimes we have a fear in our culture of actually getting inside of our bodies, whether we don't feel safe in our bodies or whether we don't feel comfortable in our bodies, or there could be shame and guilt and fear and all kinds of crazy emotions around being in your body. But this is really what we're supposed to do while we're on this planet.
Exactly. And with the pendant and with quantum energy transformation, it is like a training of getting you into your body and staying there. And so that when you're staying in your body, I think about the third eye opening from the perspective of a flower. There's a timing in which it blooms, right? In which it opens up and spreads out and it opens. It doesn't do that under all circumstances. It does it when it's ready. It also does it when you get the energy, or when the flower's energy is in the right energy. It does that. When you are in the right energy, everything opens in its own perfection.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much for taking us through that exercise.
Yeah,
I definitely
very nice.
got a little dizzy myself. I'm like, woo, this feels good.
It took you on a ride.
It was nice though. And I love bringing that higher self in. That's a practice I've been doing for years. So that was like, so rich in and of itself. We do a lot of work with the higher self. That's beautiful.
Awesome.
A lot of these scientific studies are starting to validate a lot of the ancient esoteric and we're eternal in other universes. And I share the fact that, to me, right, they've found that humans are basically energy, vibrational light beings. And with that definition of being energy in quantum physics, they found that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. But then I say, but wait a minute, that means in a very scientific, quantifiable way that we are eternal and we have always been. And yet they perceive this universe has only been here 14.8 billion years. Yeah, we may not be from this universe. Exactly. Universes within universes. I love that because it's bringing things together with more practicality of spirituality. No longer that stuff. It's like, quantum physics, scientific methodologies. Okay, it's a little bit easier to accept and understand and work with. As you've been working with this, are you able to build upon your own energy vibe with those beautiful pendants that we have? Because for me, just like you were sharing, is I instantly entrain how it feels to have it on so that I can always be in it and recall it at all times. Kind of like the beach thing, right? And I get to go drive to the beach to be there. I'm like, man, I'm freaking here now. Bip, and train how it feels, and then I can take it anywhere I go. Have you seen some major growth with people who have attended your classes and trainings that have just catapulted their level of success, whether it's self-awareness, life awareness, experience? How has that worked?
Absolutely. The power of the pendant is that the pendant is an assist. It is helping you. And it's also like your friend, because you can ask it to help you in certain situations. You can communicate back and forth with it. It's actually communicating with you all the time. It's going brrr, and brrr, like this all the time. Yeah. So it's vibrating. It's opening up your heart chakra. It's working with you. It's balancing all your chakras all at the same time as well. So as I'm working with my students, I was starting to notice them having some really neat awakening experiences. Spiritual awakening experiences were happening anyway, but they were happening faster with the pendant. So what was actually happening was my students were opening up into new experiences of the quantum field, but then they were having that supercharged by the pendant. So they were going on like a ride that we did today. Yeah. They're going on rides like that all the time. And with that experience, what's really happening is they're getting to know who they are more. They're getting to understand how communication happens in the quantum field differently, which is mostly telepathy. So as we are communicating with our spiritual team, we're communicating with ourselves at different levels. We're raising our energy to be in the 5D energy as often as we can and do. The power of what my students are experiencing is that they are living at different multidimensional levels in ways that they never thought were even possible before now.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you seen these experiences catapult people to use their own psychic abilities? Have they become more in tune to read energy?
Absolutely. And that's what we do in my advanced classes, where we're actually connecting with higher level beings and having conversations. And it's, instead of it being me that's doing that for them, they're actually doing it in the class themselves. So they are connecting and gaining the information that they need so that they have the tools to do this for themselves. They can read energy. They can sense energy. They realize they have access to all things. So they don't need to think about, I need to go to somebody else, for example, to give me the answer. They say, wait a second, the answer is inside.
Bingo.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, but getting that information and then having the outcome. Because I say you could receive all the information you want, but what's the outcome of that? It allows kind of like our guides to go, if they're saying something, I want to see the outcome, not just a bunch of talking. And so it gives us an opportunity to know in what they say, not just believe, but know it. And I think when we're able to accept that in our own way, whatever feels good, it allows you the confidence to be able to live, not just exist or survive life.
Absolutely. I remember a long time ago, I was meeting with this lady, and she was interested in having me not only help her with healing, but she wanted to have guidance. So she had me, go into my psychic abilities and tell her whatever guidance she needed to hear. Now, at the time, this was not really my thing. And I kind of, and I was kind of new to doing that. But I said, okay, I kind of felt cornered, oh, tell me about this and tell me about that. Tell me about this, how that goes sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm trying to work with her on the healing aspect, and all she wants to know is the answer.
Right.
So as I connect with myself and I'm giving her all of these answers that are coming to me, and I'm feeling really good about it. And then we also do the healing work, and she leaves and she comes back the next week. And the next week when she comes back, I said, oh, great. You got to tell me about how the information I gave you worked for you. And she said, it didn't. I said, what do you mean it didn't? She said, none of it was right. I'm like,
Okay.
oh, crap. What do you mean none of it was right? She said, I don't know, but I'll tell you this, Joshua. Whenever I'm with you, around you, whenever I come here, my whole world changes in amazing ways. But the psychic information you gave me was really just not good. But who cares? Because all the stuff you're giving me energetically is really working really well. And I'm thinking, oh, great. So obviously I have no psychic ability whatsoever. And at least the energy work was fabulous, right?
Yeah.
So what was interesting was, at the time, I didn't realize it, but I had kind of shut down my abilities. So all I was doing was thinking about, oh, well, I'll tell her this and I'll tell her that. I wasn't actually connecting with my psychic abilities for her as I thought that I was. Later on, when all of this stuff opened, then my psychic abilities came to me in a different way. I was feeling them differently. I was experiencing them differently. I was in the field of the abilities, not just thinking I'm telling someone what they're needing to know. It's like it's like a knowing that is so right and so strong that you just feel it through every cell of your body, and you know that's what they need to hear today.
Right.
So it's different than what I was doing, but it was a great learning to have completely fallen on my face and failed, to realize that it is more than that. And, this is why we go through what we go through in our life, is to learn, and to fall on our face a few times before we actually get it.
Absolutely.
Hopefully, and still come out looking good.
And still come out looking good.
That's right. Only a bumps and bruises that can be cleared with a little quantum field. You're good.
But that brings up an interesting dynamic for me. I love the scientific aspects. There's a gentleman whose name is Dr. Masaru Emoto, and he was a scientist who wanted to see if the molecular structure of water holds thought patterns thought within it. And each and every time he did this, he got the same results. My thing is with this sauntering through the fields, aren't you picking up on thought patterns of consciousness that are affecting the molecular structure of your body? That the more you tune into that, the more that vibrational play in your beingness and those vibrational patterns of energy, which in its own can kind of amplify the cellular structure, in this case, the molecular structure, creating a whole different dynamic. Because in talking about what the cells do and the protein antennas of self-receptors, is that possibly some of what the laminin, Laminin, works with? Because that's a cellular orchestrator of the human body. That's why I always say, well, isn't it interesting that the eyeball cells stay the eyeball cells, the fingernail cells stay the finger? It is precision. There is no guesswork and luck or coincidence. It is that kind of a connection that I feel like is what you're sharing is giving people the guts to become that inner space astronaut, to discover who they truly are, which is everything. It is all one. Is that something that you've been able to understand even more effectively as you've been able to help others find their own way of living life, not just existing?
Oh, absolutely. We just did a class this past Tuesday where we were working on trauma.
Ooh.
And it's very interesting, whereas I was working with each person and encouraging them to open up, we went to like over 10,000 hertz energy frequency in the class. We are vibrating a lot. Things are happening in the class. It was amazing. And when we were experiencing this, people were having these very fast and powerful changes. And then this one lady's, it was her turn. And her first statement to me was, I don't shift, I don't heal, things don't change for me. And I thought, isn't that an interesting perspective? And I said, well, we'll see about that. And so I kind of was challenging her there a little bit. For me, I left it to my guides. I left it to whatever's going to show up is going to show up. And I allowed her to open up in that moment, obviously in front of a group of people, but
And safely, feeling safe.
and safely too, right? So how this was happening was she started, because of course she has got this belief that she can't shift. So I have her slow everything down. And I have her get really, really deep in her body. And then I start to invite her to move the energy. And as she starts to do this, it starts to move. But I don't mean like a little. I mean like turbocharging moving. And she's like crying, laughing at the same time. And she's just, all of these things were happening all at once in such a beautiful, transformational way. And, she should be in the Guinness book for like the biggest transformation. She had this huge transformation. Everybody on the call was just holding space for her, and how wonderful it was in this safe environment for her to, for the first time, because she's been holding this stuff down for like how long,
Right.
years and years. And when she was somewhat complete with the release, because it didn't stop until even after the call, it was still going. So she was releasing and releasing and releasing, but you could see she wasn't even the same person. Who she was at the end of the call was not the person she was when she came onto the call. And I asked her to look at that. I said, do you notice you've already changed into the you that you are capable of becoming? And she said, yeah, like she's been introduced to herself again, right?
Yes, like,
Yep.
hello, meet yourself.
Yeah,
Shake
that's
hands.
what she's talking, yep.
Shake hands, get to know who you are.
And if you don't know,
Exactly.
keep the acquaintance and keep going, man.
So the power of the cellular healing, the cellular structure, and how it all works together is that it happens in waves. So of course, one wave came in, and then another wave came in. Now for her, waves were coming in and out. When you watch the ocean, the wave happens, and then the other wave comes back, and then the wave.
Sure.
But it's like double that and triple that and quadruple that happening all
Like
the
a
time.
tsunami, man.
Woo, a tsunami worth of waves in her body. And
Beautiful.
she was just a whole new level of herself. Now, this didn't take very long. This was like a 10-minute experience that I had on the call with her. But wow, in those 10 minutes, her life became anew, and she jumped into a new possibility for how she could live her life.
That must be so rewarding for you to go, I just have to be me. Yeah, do you, man. But when you can allow people to find the enrichment of their soul, it'll take them out of their mind and put them into their soul. And a lot of people are like, I don't know what to think, but I feel everything. I'm like, freaking A, good. You can start to feel that life force. And I say life flow, not the life force.
Oh, I like that life flow. Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to go with the flow.
Yeah, funny but true, yes. And when we can do that, because it's not easy, a lot of times we got to try to make this happen and that. But if we can open up and let the universe work, it's effortless, because there is no effort in any way at all. It's effortless. That kind of a creation and co-creation with life and other people allows them to begin to find themselves within life and that life within them and bring it to the surface of consciousness and live. I love when people help themselves.
Yes. So Joshua, you have a free gift for our listeners. Do you want to tell
I
us a little
do.
bit about
Yeah,
that? We
please.
are going to have a link in the show notes, so I encourage you all to check this out. Go ahead, Joshua.
So I have this wonderful gift. It has Bruce Lipton in it, Donna Eden, James Oshman, and so many other great people in this gift. It's called Discovering the Science of Quantum Manifestation. And it is an audio where all of these great people, including myself, teach you and help you understand about manifesting health. So we know that we can manifest other things, but this focuses on health, helping you understand how does manifestation work at that level. If you go to iqet.com/Clark, CLARK, that's iqet.com/Clark, you'll be able to get this gift. You just sign in and get the gift. And when you do, you will be experiencing a new level of what manifestation can be like for you.
Yes. And it is a beautiful gift. I've already
We were
taken
listening to
advantage
it,
of the
yeah.
gift and enjoyed it thoroughly. Oh my gosh.
Oh, good.
Oh, is there anything else you would like to share with our listeners, Joshua?
Well, I think that it's a great thing to remind everybody that anything is possible, even when we think it's not. Because I know I've been there myself, where I thought, nah, not really possible. But I see the impossible every day with what I do. And it's amazing to watch people jump into the quantum field, and even for the first time, and to have an experience that they'll always remember. It's amazing.
Yeah, it'd be
Beautiful.
registered in their soul, man. And it's like you could take it anywhere you go. That's the point. It's always with you.
Yeah, that I am
Life
presence
changer.
will just like
Yeah.
permeate through every cell of your being. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Joshua.
Definitely.
It has been such a beautiful, beautiful moment for us.
And thank
Well,
you for the
thank you for
experience.
having me.
This is beautiful.
Thank you for tuning in today to Psychic Evolution, and check out the link in the show notes. Check out Joshua Bloom and highly recommend The Ultimate Answer is Inside. You can either watch the film or you can get the book or do both. I encourage you to check out the quantum field of your I am possibility and the potential within.